Welcome to the Excellence at Work podcast, where we explore the strategies and best practices that drive business success. I'm Rachel Cook, COO of Brandon Hall Group and the host of our podcast, along with members of our executive team. In each episode, we'll dive into the latest trends, insights, and real-world examples from some of the most exciting leaders from organizations worldwide. Be part of our journey and learn from the best as we discuss innovative approaches and cutting-edge technologies for talent management, learning and development, leadership, diversity and inclusion, and more.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Brandon Hall Group Excellence at Work podcast. I'm Claude Werder. I'm Senior Vice President and Principal Analyst for Brandon Hall Group, and I'll be your host today. This is the second of two shows with Brandon Hall Group's partner and certified preferred provider, iSolved. The iSolved People Cloud platform is an all-in-one solution to meet all the human capital management technology needs of small and mid-sized businesses. Our conversations in this podcast series is focusing on iSolved's innovative Center of Influence program. The COI, as it's called, is a networking and strategic outreach initiative designed to build relationships with key professionals, partners, and business advisors. It's expanded iSolved's affiliate and referral footprint, leading to deeper market penetration, particularly among small and mid-sized businesses via broker and advisor networks. In our first podcast, we had a great conversation with Meredith Riley, iSolved's Chief Sales Officer for New Business, and she provided the iSolved perspective. Today, we'll look at COIs from the trusted partner perspective. We're joined by Spencer Johnson, Treasury Management Officer of Zions Bank in Utah, who will talk about the bank's successful partnership with iSolved, and Suzanne Santana, iSolved Vice President of Sales for their West region. Welcome to you both.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh, our pleasure. We're glad you could take the time. Why don't you just start with each of you sharing a little bit about yourself and your background? And Spencer, why don't you go first?
My name is Spencer Johnson. So I'm a Treasury Management Officer for Zions Bank. Been in the banking industry for almost 15 years and been in Treasury Management for a little over 5 and based out of here in Utah. And it's busy. Things are booming. It's crazy and it's good and we like it.
Great. Suzanne?
I'm Suzanne Santana, and I've been here at iSolved almost 4 years now. I'm Regional Vice President of Sales out here for the West, and I have about 20 years of human capital management background, so quite extensive and excited to be here today.
Well, great. Again, thanks. We're looking forward to the discussion. Before we dive in, I wanted to provide just a little more context about our first discussion. Meredith Riley explained how COIs, which are trusted business advisors like business bankers, benefit brokers, and accountants, how they're evolving beyond linear transactional relationships with their clients to provide more strategic value to them. Today's business environment requires these advisors to zoom out a little bit and then understand how payroll and HCM technology integrates with their core expertise to drive retention, engagement, and growth. The key insight that we got, I think, is that advisors don't need to become HCM experts themselves. They need to partner with the right technology providers who can complement their services and just help them deliver greater value to their clients. So with that backdrop, Spencer, let's start with you. Before you partnered with iSolved, what were you hearing from your business banking clients that made you realize, maybe Zions had a new opportunity?
So as Treasury Management Officers, a lot of what we do is the technology side of banking. And it goes anywhere from receivables to payables, purchasing, merchant services. And one of the things that we were often hearing from business owners, from CFOs, from controllers was payroll. And a lot of issues with payroll. And how do we manage that? Trying to keep track of even timekeeping and employees and making sure that they're tracking their hours and tracking them correctly. And we kind of saw that as an opportunity, like where we're hearing that from several of our client base. Maybe we need to look into this a little bit more and see how we can help our clients rather than just saying, good luck figuring it out.
Right. So walk us through your process. You were looking for a partner. What was you looking for, and what made iSolve stand out for you?
Yeah, so we, with a lot of our services, there are companies that can process their payroll on their own, but a lot of them don't want to. Like they're, for several different reasons, they don't have the time, they don't have the resources. And so we wanted to go through a process of trying to find a partner that we could work with that had similar values to Zion's Bank, and that we knew that we could hand them over and they would be taken care of. Because the last thing you want is to refer your partner to someone and it ends up being a disaster, and you're like, oh, like, that's
Right.
not very good. So we went through a whole vetting process, and um, yeah, came up with iSolved and talked to them and found that a lot of their values were in line with our values. They customer service is number one. Having a company that you know can do large corporate things but has a small business feel,
Hmm.
and it's not, I'm just a number. Like they don't really know who I am and different things. And so that was a huge part of the whole vetting process with iSolved, and that's what we got.
Great. Well, Suzanne, I know that iSolve often likes to say that they're large enough to make a difference and small enough to care. So how does that philosophy play out in practice when you're working like with a partner like Zion?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually just going to say that we're large enough to make a difference and small enough to care. It's really our slogan. And when you think of other human capital management companies, you have your big boxes, right? That are offering everything from
Every
hire
single.
to retire from a technology perspective. And we can offer and do offer the same. However, from a servicing perspective, we're still small enough to where, as Spencer said, our customers are our customers. They're not just numbers. So, really having, that hands-on approach from
Hmm.
start to finish with implementation and then passing over to service, having one point of contact and service is really a white glove treatment that you don't really come across that often in our verticals. So I think that paired with Zion's, it works perfectly.
What gave you the sense that they would be a good fit for this kind of relationship?
Exactly the same thing that Spencer said, right? Like our companies are very aligned when it comes to our culture and our initiatives, and us being able to help Zions keep their clients sticky, and then being able to help us with some referrals for our human capital management and to keep their clients happy.
Great. Yeah. So it's a great marriage, but any relationship that starts, you have to build some trust over time. So Spencer, I think you told me that the first referral to solve was somebody paying too much for payroll. So what gave you the confidence to make that introduction, and what was the outcome?
Yeah, it was interesting. I'll try and condense this story, but I had just recently gotten into a new portfolio, so this was a new client even to me. And when we like to do relationship reviews where we sit down and kind of go over several different things. And one of the things that I always bring up is, payroll services. What are you using for your payroll? How are you managing your employees? And I got out of them that they were using a major payroll company, and they gave me their pricing that they were paying per employee per month, and I was blown away at how much they were paying. I was like, that is unreal. Like, you need to meet with my guy. But at the same time, like, where I was new into this portfolio, they didn't know me either. So they kindly declined at that time,
Okay.
and said, no, we're okay. Like, we're good. And maybe a year went by, and there were other things that we did that helped them out and that I built trust with them. So it took a little bit. And then I came back to that conversation again and said, look, like, are you still with that same payroll provider? Because we really need to look at this. Like, I know we can save you a lot of money, and not just save you money, like, it's going to be a better overall experience for them. If you see iSolve's platform, like, it's awesome. It's very intuitive, easy to use.
Very easy.
Um, and Suzanne, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's almost like a la carte type thing. Like, you can plug
Yeah,
in different things as you need them.
correct. Yep.
And it just made it so much easier. So then after I had gained that trust with them, they were like, okay, like we'll meet with them. And my representative was Brad Rich. And Brad, like I've gotten to know him, and he came in and he's a very straight shooter. He doesn't really like give you a lot of fluff. He's
Right.
just like, this is what it is. This is what I can do. This is what it looks like. Let's set up something and they can answer your question. Like they have this whole process set up. And at that point, it was like hands off. I didn't have to do anything. iSolved just took it and ran with it. And to give you like an update, like a year after all of that, we did another relationship review and they were raving about iSolved, how great it was. I wish we would have done this earlier. Like it was just awesome. It's really helped them out. So it makes it really easy when you can just refer them and they just kind of take it and you know that it's going to be a good experience for the client.
So Suzanne, Spencer talked about kind of what Brad did and the handoff, and it went pretty smoothly. But I'm sure there's some bumps along the way, and if not in this relationship and others. How do you tend to work through those things? How do you work with potential new partners to make sure that things go smoothly, and if there are some bumps, they get taken care of quickly?
Yeah, really good question. I think communication is key, right? Just making sure that your partner, in this instance, Zion's, is in lockstep with the implementation, anything that might arise from a servicing perspective. I mean, just really close in communication throughout the entire implementation and servicing of their client, right? Because they're trusting us to really treat their client the same way that they treat their clients. And things happen. I mean, payroll is something that businesses are in every week, every other week. You know, people need to get paid. But if there is an issue, making sure that your partner that referred is in communication, you know, before you even reach back out to the customer so that they have full visibility on everything. So it really makes that cohesive trust, which is key to any relationship.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So let's maybe drill a little deeper into the partnership and practice. So Spencer, when we chatted a few weeks ago now for the podcast, you mentioned various hooks for client engagement, such as, well, we've already talked about high payroll costs, multiple tech systems, maybe compliance challenges. How do these topics naturally kind of come up in your conversations, or how do you go about bridging those topics?
So if you've ever been or talked to or worked with a controller, a CFO, or an owner, they have so many hats and different things that they have to do. The biggest complaint that I hear is, I don't have time. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. And then we have so many systems. Who is it that's our contact for this? Who is it that we reach out for this? Who do we do this through? Like, they have their hands in so many different areas and they're just constantly trying to juggle all these
Right.
different balls, and it's difficult. And so as far as like, you know, I have several clients that before they had, you know, one company for payroll. They had one company that would kind of do like a training, one that was like onboarding, another one that did like timekeeping.
Right.
Like, and it's hard to juggle through all of those. Like, I know in theory, it's like, oh, you just have an online platform, you just log in. Like, it should be really easy. Just save it to your history or whatever. In theory, yeah, that's really easy, but it doesn't always work that way. Passwords change and you get logged out, or a different department is looking at something different. Like it can get really convoluted really quick.
Yep.
And so with iSolved, it's been really easy because you can combine all of those into one platform. Kind of like we were talking, Suzanne and I, about kind of like an a la carte where
Right.
they have more than just payroll. Like payroll, yes, that's a hook that I use because everyone has payroll. But you just use that, and then once I get them in front of Brad or whoever my rep is,
Mm-hmm.
Brad can then talk to them about all these other different options that they have. And everyone has some timekeeping thing that they do. They have a hiring process or an onboarding process. Maybe they don't, and it's just a mess. But it's like, if they can combine all of that into one, the amount of stress and headache that relieves for those owners, those CFOs, those controllers, like, is huge. And a lot of times the biggest thing is time. Obviously, if they can save money, awesome. Like, And most of the time we do. But if you can save them time so that they can do those other important tasks, like that's huge for a CFO or for an owner. And most of them, honestly, like if you're dealing with an owner, they don't want to sit there and deal with payroll and books and stuff. They want to grow the
Right.
business and different things like that. So it's a huge benefit to just go to them and say, look, we can cover all these things and put them all into one platform, and they actually will communicate and share data and talk to each other. Just makes it easy.
It does make it easy and it's pretty enticing. But I wonder, is there some reluctance initially, not about iSolve, but just making a change and going through that process? Do you get any pushback, or when you tell them those things, do they like, yeah, yeah, let's
No,
talk?
absolutely, Claude. Like it's I said, the biggest thing is I don't have time. So when you bring up like, let's look at this, oftentimes the biggest battle that I deal with is I don't have time to meet with Brad. I don't have time to look into it. Like I'm juggling so much stuff. But if I can get them to meet with him and just take that hour, like typically from that point, iSolve pretty much sells itself. And then at that point, it's just figuring out like, okay, when can we implement this and when can we do it? Because it's such an easy, like I said, the platform is so intuitive. It's easy, not just for, I mean, obviously the CEOs and the controllers and stuff like that, they're into it in it more, but also for all the employees and things. Like they can look up their pay stubs really easy. They can
Yeah,
track their hours easy. This client that I was talking about earlier, like they have all these trainings and they do different platforms to train their clients on different things. Well, now they can do them, they can put them into iSolved and do them through there too. And so just having that one platform and telling them, just go to iSolved and it has it right there. When I onboard you, it's all in iSolved. Like we can do everything through there. Hiring, iSolved, you can do it through there.
yep. Suzanne, so this sounds pretty easy. Spencer handing over to the sales rep. It's a pretty easy sell based on everything that you can do. I imagine it's a little bit more complicated than that. Where does it go from there? And how
Yeah.
do you build that relationship with the new client?
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing about human capital management as a whole is that every client is different. Every business operates within the same framework, but a little bit different, right? So no situation is ever the same. So really getting in and having a thorough discovery with the prospect to understand. And we usually say, walk us through everything from sourcing to hiring your first employee. What does that look like from an employee perspective? What does that look like from an administrative perspective? Walk me through your whole employee life cycle. And that really starts the conversation going as to we don't have a process for this, or we're using, this applicant tracking solution that then doesn't talk to our onboarding because we're using this. And then, as Spencer was saying, and then we're using this for time and attendance, which we upload into our payroll technology. So there could be many different disparate systems that we're coming in and talking through, possibly replacing, and then really showing how one line of code and one true system of truth really makes a difference, not only from an administrative perspective, but also an employee experience perspective, because that employee is now going
Yeah,
into their app, utilizing their app for time off, for any kind of trainings, to clock in and out. So it's really, helpful from not just a business and ROI perspective, which is huge, but
yeah.
also from an employee perspective of just having, hey, here's my iSolved app. I just click on it and everything's right there. I'm not having to go into multiple apps on my phone or multiple systems, to get done what I need to do throughout a workday as well.
So obviously, any new client coming in and doing all of that, multiple things is, as you mentioned, you really have to listen and it's somewhat time consuming. How does having a partner like Zions in the equation make it easier and benefit your long-term client relationships?
I think it's wonderful. I mean, hands down, when you have a partnership that you can trust and you work together, because there may be some nuances that a particular business has that we may not be aware of that come about during the sales process, where we could easily go back to Zion's and ask those key questions, and their insight is extremely helpful. So I think, every time we have a prospect that's referred by a partner, it's just such a better experience than somebody coming in cold, because you have a background there, you have a history there usually, so that you can really get to know that customer on a deeper level, which then equates to a better business relationship.
Great, thanks for that. So let's talk maybe a little bit about advice for people who might be thinking about doing something like this. Spencer, if you were talking to another business banker or a financial advisor who may be hesitant or just doesn't really understand this whole space about expanding beyond their traditional services, what would you tell them based on your experience?
Well, I mean, obviously, my experience has been positive, but I would say, do your own vetting process and, reach out to iSolved and go through it and almost do it as if you had your own business and you were setting it up, and have them go through and show you everything and what they do, how it works, like Suzanne said, how everything communicates together. Because if you're in the world where you're in any banking, that's where I speak from. I'm sure there's other,
Right.
COIs and stuff like that, but what they spend a lot of their time on, or what they waste their time on, that they get frustrated with, and really go into researching iSolved yourself and make sure that you're comfortable with it, so that you can refer it and bring them into that picture. And like Suzanne said, I mean, I can tell you all the great stuff that I've experienced with them and with working with Brad and with iSolved's team, but you'll have to really figure it out yourself, and you won't be disappointed in it. Like, their product is amazing. And just knowing that we've touched on it multiple times, that you can bring in iSolved or whoever the rep is that's you'd be working with, and like, you're still going to be involved and they're still going to keep you updated, but just knowing that they're not going to damage the relationship that you built with that client is huge, because that's not in every industry. You can't do that. Or I've had different people where I'm like, I really don't know if I feel comfortable with it, and I'll try it and work with that rep probably more closely on the first deal. But when I've seen how they work and what they do, and I'm comfortable with it, then I'm like, okay, now I can just introduce them to several clients. I know their process and how they work, and I'm comfortable with them just kind of running with it and just keeping me updated on how things are going.
Yeah, so it sounds like the key is asking the right questions. So Suzanne, from your side, what's helpful for a prospective partner to be thinking about before they jump in? The kind of things that they should be thinking about so you can help them.
Yeah, I mean, I think, with any partnership, as I said before, trust is huge, but, trusting that from a servicing perspective, their client's going to be taken care of, and ensuring that, the partner that you're working with, and Spencer, in your case, Brad, Spencer knows that Brad is going to do anything and everything he can to make sure that if there are any hiccups or something happens, he's going to take care of it and keep Spencer in the loop 100% of the time. I think, just being diligent about asking the tough questions, right? Like, what percent of your clients do you still have today that, onboarded 3 years ago? What's the turn rate? That type of thing. Is there one point of contact and service? What does that look like? And what are the possibilities for something to go wrong? And, what do you do to game plan ahead of time to have answers ready to go in case something, goes sideways, like really projecting shortfalls.
Yeah, Claude, like Suzanne was saying, at some point there is going to be something that goes wrong. That's just how it is with business. But I think a lot of it is how do you handle that? What's your response to that? And are you going to take care of that client? And if you're on the same page, like as I am with iSolved, I know it's going to get taken care of, but you don't want to damage that relationship. But on the other end of it, if you refer a partner like iSolved, and you know that they're going to take care of that client and they're doing the same thing that you would, that strengthens my relationship with them even more on other products that I might offer, because they're like, no, this guy or this gal, they have my best interest in mind. They're not just trying to make a buck off of me. They're not just trying to throw whatever the hot and new thing is. Like, they've taken care of me on several things. And so I'm going to be more willing to listen to them on these other products that we have that might not be iSolved. Like I said, Treasury Management does tons of different things.
Yeah.
So it opens that door. It solidifies the relationship, just having a good partner.
Yeah, so that kind of actually gets in a little bit into the final question I was going to ask both of you. So I'll ask Suzanne first, and then Spencer, you can add anything that you haven't already said. And that is, how has the partnership with Zions changed the way you serve your clients? In other words, how do these relationships help you beyond this particular client?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really just reinforces the importance of being excellent at servicing your clients at the end of the day. Customer service matters. And whether you're in sales or service or back-end technology, whatever it is, there's a human component there. And I think, Zions does a fantastic job with their customers from a servicing perspective and really white glove customer service. So having that front of mind all the time, it helps you level up your game and really keeps that servicing front of mind. To me, it's the most important thing.
Great, thanks. Well, Spencer, we'll give you the final word. Any final thoughts, pieces of advice for organizations considering a COI partnership like this?
The only last thing would be, and most people know this anyway, but your success is really based off of your partnership with others. And if you have good partnerships, it can damage your success, but it can also increase your success personally and business wise. So I would just say, always do your due diligence, find those good partners. And Zions Bank, we're fortunate. We found iSolved, and they've been a great partner to work with, and we'll have great success moving forward, just like we have in the past and how we are currently. So yeah, we're really excited. We love working with them and grateful for their partnership.
Likewise. Thank you.
Well, thanks to both of you. This has been great. Hopefully this has been enlightening for organizations that might need a partner like this and are thinking of better ways to handle a lot of their human capital management functions. So appreciate you taking the time and the conversation. Thanks to all of you for tuning in, and we hope you'll continue to tune into Excellence at Work podcast for information that can help you in your company or your practice. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.